Hey guys, what's going on? It's Mike with FormAWin here to help you guys get your first engineering job. Today we have Jason. He's an engineer at Google, done lots of awesome stuff. Let's get into it. Make sure you have a pen, piece of paper. Let's rock. Jason, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Hey, nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. Yeah, no, I know you've done so many awesome, great things. So I'm really looking forward to you kind of helping some students out. Whoever's watching this, whether you're an engineer getting into STEM, I mean, it's a super big thing for you guys to kind of take notes here and figure out where you're at in your career, where you're at with any advice you've received, and then kind of just reverse engineer how to get to the next step and find that one piece, that one point, and then go apply it. That's going to make this video worth it. So, Jason, welcome again. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, cool. So my background's in computer engineering. That's what I graduated with. But after that, I think I didn't really have a great time in school. I didn't do like a great, like no great GPA or anything. I worked full time to get through school, and like I also did school full time. So some part of that slips, right, when you're going through everything. But I knew I wanted to be in tech. I knew I wanted to work with computers, whatever that meant, or work with on the internet, whatever that meant. Um, I don't know that I knew exactly what I wanted to do coming out of college. And um, being a child of immigrants, right, it was like hard to figure out what comes next, right? Like I didn't have a lot of that to look to my parents for. So I had to find that for myself. So I wound up after graduating going into like the telecom industry. And from there, learned networking, a little bit of cybersecurity. And from there, kind of figured out where do I want to go next, right? And that for me was cloud. So now I work in cloud.
Awesome. Okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit about like what you currently do a little bit more, and then we'll kind of dig into like that whole backstory. And then I mean, feel free to share anything else too.
Yeah, cool. So I'm a customer engineer now at Google, and that is Google's way of saying sales engineering, right? So the industry term is sales engineering. You might sometimes hear solutions engineering. It can be kind of tricky with that one because that could be a different role as well. I think Microsoft calls it like solutions architect or something like that, right? Every company has, at least in the tech industry, most of those companies have some sort of technical selling side. And you'll have like the actual sellers themselves who do the cold calling and emailing and relationship building. Then you have the customer engineer, sales engineer who understands architecture and understands pain points and where the customer might say, we're trying to do this or we're trying to go here with our business. How do we do that technically, right? Like, where do we take our architecture to make that happen? How do we scale? Those are the kind of things I handle.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. Yeah. And like that's really awesome because I mean a lot of people don't necessarily think about that too. Like especially for students watching like a big misconception. And then I believe this for a long time. And then just your major and like what you're studying, right? I mean that's not necessarily like the exact job that you're gonna get. I mean, like there's so many different types of engineers, there's so many different positions. There's, I mean, half the people that I know that I work with that I've seen that I've, students, clients, and I mean everyone else too. I'm sure you can attest to this as well, Jason. Like they kind of craft their position almost and then they get into the workforce and then they start taking on different projects and then before they know it they're just doing a bunch of stuff and then they're just contributing to the company, which is a big thing. Everyone watching should kind of think about too in positioning themselves when you go to interviews, et cetera, things like that. But sales engineering is really cool. I actually also almost got into that, but then I decided to kind of work as a systems engineer instead. So that's awesome, and I love and respect that. So kind of digging a little bit into the background too. So what was your first internship or just first position?
My first position was a solutions engineer, actually. It was an internship, actually. So this is back when Sprint still existed. They don't exist anymore. Now they're T-Mobile. And I'll say, when you're going through school, sometimes you feel like you're looking for the next best job, right? You're focusing on the best everything. I need the best internship. I need the best whatever. But there's actually a lot of job opportunity out there, right? And you don't need to be at the best of everything, right? I say that now that I work at Google, but it took me steps to get to Google, right? I didn't jump straight into Google. There's time, right? You're going to be in your career 30 to 40 years, Um, you have time, right? After college, you have a lot of time to figure out what's next. And I think that's the key thing for me. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I needed a job, right? Spent all this money on a degree. I had student loans to pay. I had bills to pay. And so for me, I would look at the applications and anything that sounded like technology I was interested in that I thought was cool from my schoolwork. I looked for those keywords, right? And that's kind of how I stumbled on the internship I got coming out of college. That was a solutions engineer internship. And some companies have them. Like I know Cisco has like a really big program for it. Some companies have those type of internships where they'll teach you how to do the job, right? You're kind of going through almost an academy of sorts to learn the job, learn the business, learn the trade, and then be successful afterwards. So that's what I got into at Sprint. It was a 6 month internship. I know that's weird to graduate and then get an internship, but through the years of college, I always worked full time so that I could afford to like stay in the area and go to college. So I didn't really land any great internships or anything. My GPA wasn't impressive, like I never picked anything up. But after college, the internship was the opportunity, and it also had the opportunity to go full time afterwards, right? The way it was described to me was like it's almost a guarantee. Like you're going to be an intern at first, we're just evaluating, then you'll probably get an offer to go full time, and that was good enough for me. I was going to get paid, and it was still great money to be an intern, and then I was going to have a shot at a full time job afterwards and learn the job on the internship. Like all of that was a win for me, and I was open to the opportunity. So I took that and I stayed there for about 4 years after the internship.
Awesome, man. I love it. Yeah, no, I mean, that's super great that you kind of went through that, especially too with everyone watching, kind of touching back on that other point with, getting into like a top place or whatever, big, awesome, amazing internship, whatever you want to call it. I mean, like, the reason we're going to school and the reason we're doing all this stuff is to be an engineer, learn and grow and develop too, right? And a lot of people get boggled down on exactly what you're saying, which is, you need the fancy title instead of just getting experience, getting a job. And, that's why we're doing it anyway for fun, right? So like if you're just getting in there, getting experience, that's better than not doing it than waiting for like a top name, quote unquote, whatever it is, right? So I mean,
Right.
so like I definitely love that, and that's huge that you were able to do that, then kind of transfer to where you are now. What was like what were some of the biggest struggles that you had to overcome?
I think there are mental struggles to overcome.
Mhm.
I think there
Definitely.
are competition struggles to overcome. Like applying to work is, you need a strategy. It's tough. You need to understand the craft of applying to jobs, searching for jobs, finding opportunities, opening opportunities, right? Interviewing, negotiation, all of that is an art. And you have to put time into that just like you would put into anything else if you really want the type of job that you're going for, right? And you have to be in the market. So all of those I think were tough. Learning that job applications are not like, it's not like, you're shooting your resume out to as many jobs as possible and figuring things out. You need to be on top of things. You need to be an early applicant in most cases to actually get anywhere. And then once you understand that and get in the rhythm of applying, you have a better shot, right? You need to be in the market big time. You need to apply often. You need to apply early, right? That was big for me, learning those skills. I think that's a tough one, and the resume building as well. The other things too are just doubting myself, right? Gatekeeping myself. You see these applications and they say, we want 5 years of experience. We want these certifications. We want this degree. And then you tell yourself no, right? That's a huge one.
Yeah.
I did that for a long time, and there's no reason for you to tell yourself no. The other thing about that is you don't know what other opportunities they have. And that's kind of how my life turned out to get to where I am now. I was good at the applications and everything else, but then I also understood I need to apply to jobs whether I feel like I'm a fit or not. As long as I feel like I'm a fit, right, and it's a good opportunity, if I don't even have all the qualifications, because the recruiter's going to see it. The recruiter knows what other jobs are in the industry or for their business and reach out to you if you look like a good applicant for something else, right? If you never apply, you're never in that pool of people. You're never in the pool of consideration. So those mental blockers were tough for me too. Just telling myself like, oh well, I don't have that degree they asked for. I don't have that certification they asked for. Like maybe they listed five certifications and I only have two of them. And I'll say, oh, I'm not gonna bother. I'm not gonna get it. That was tough at first. I think I've been in my career like 10 years now. I think the longer you're doing it, the more you experience it, and the more you practice, then you're like, who cares? Like
Yeah.
whatever, like I'm gonna apply to it, right? Like I'm not gonna say no to myself. They can tell me no all they want. They tell people no all day. So I need to give myself that shot and not doubt myself, right? Like I've always had that issue of doubting myself and having those reservations, but every day I prove to myself like I could do it, right? I'm always figuring stuff out that before I thought was so difficult or so hard or like, just stressful. Now I just like things I used to care about that I thought were stressful are not stressful anymore, right? They seem trivial. So you need to push yourself and you need to not keep yourself for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like that's definitely the biggest thing. I'm sure a lot of people struggle with that, but they maybe think it's the tactical, technical things like, oh, you don't have the
Right.
certification, like you're saying, when it's actually, like the mindset or the doubting yourself, right? Like that's a huge thing. So for everyone watching, kind of evaluate where you're at. Are you blaming some different situations on that application system? Are you blaming it on others? Like where's your head at? Because it's probably internal, and there's probably just some things that you can kind of think about and then work to overcome too. I mean, it's a battle to struggle. I mean, we all go through it, and it's going to take a little bit of time. But as long as you're aware and you become more aware, right, kind of like you did, then you overcame it. I mean, that's probably the best way to do it. So I definitely love
I
that.
think too, figuring out where, if you feel like you have a gap, okay, is that something I want to achieve? Right. Like I mentioned on the certification side, that's big in like the networking world and cybersecurity world. Is that something I can go learn? Can I go get that certification? What am I missing that I feel like I'm missing? Can I learn that thing? Go back and do it, right? Like put the work into it. If you want to get somewhere, you have to put the work into it, right? I think also knowing that you don't have to be the best. I don't think I'm the best. Certainly, I don't. I'm in a company of the best people, right? But I don't think I'm the best at all. I always feel like I have stuff to learn off of other people. You don't need to be the best in the room, but you do need to be the best you, right? If you're not working on yourself and taking the time to gain the skills that you need and always challenging yourself, then like, how are you going to get those top paying jobs, right? Like, how are you going to get your dream job if you're not willing to put the work into it?
Yep. I mean, 1,000%. Like oftentimes too, I mean, especially with everyone watching, your goal is probably to become a better engineer right now or find your first internship or position with watching this, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of things that come with that too, in terms of if you're looking for the job, maybe you're just not applying enough jobs. Maybe you're not going to enough networking events. Maybe you're just overcomplicating it, overthinking it, which is a big thing, right? We're very analytical people as engineers, so that, we overanalyze it. So, I mean, maybe just kind of looking at it from the simple form of, okay, how does one get a job? Networking or applying to a job. Okay, if we just do more of the simple thing, it's probably going to yield more results too. So love that point, Jason. Now, if we're kind of looking at someone that's looking to get a job quickly, maybe or an internship quickly, like what's one piece of advice that you would give them,
If they're looking for work quickly,
or
I
just trying to find their
think
first
that
job?
first job, uh, open your mind.
Mhm. There you go.
I think you paint a picture of where you want to be and where you need to be, and you make these constraints that aren't necessary, right? You say like, I want this software engineering job, so I need this specific internship. I need to work for these specific companies. That's
Yeah.
not the case, right? Gain experience. Look at companies that you've never heard of before. Look at opportunities that seem, are you gaining the skills that you need to? That's it. That's all you need to do. So open your mind, break out of that box that you're building for yourself. You don't worry about your peers. Some of your peers are going to go off to like the best internships possible, right? Year after year after year. Cool. That wasn't me. And I still made it out, right? Um, I didn't have a referral. I didn't have like people really to teach me the process of getting, like, I didn't even know this job existed until I had started looking, right? So you need to keep searching. You need to figure out what the skills that you're trying to gain and look for jobs that match those skills, right? Look for opportunities that match those skills and be open to that. Is the job also going to pay your, if they're like, are they going to pay for your situation, right? Like, are you going to pay your bills and you're going to be able to put food on the table for yourself and save money for yourself, things like that. Those are all important too after college, right? So as long as you are satisfying like your needs and you can survive, and then you're also gaining the skills, be open to going to a job that maybe doesn't seem so attractive or doesn't seem like prestigious.
I love it, man. Yeah, one of the examples too, especially if someone's looking for like that dream, whatever, and then they're like waiting to find a position just because they're waiting for like the perfect quote unquote whatever it is. I mean, if
Yeah.
someone gets like a fancy sports car, right? And like that's cool, and then you think it's cool for a week, and then you drive it, it's great, but then it just becomes a car, right? So I mean, like same thing,
Yeah.
like that's a really good example for everyone because I mean, you're gonna get into like once you if you get into that dream that you're waiting for, like that whatever perfect job title that you're waiting for or whatever it is, right? And then like once you're in there, then it's still like there's still gonna be parts of it you don't like. So you need to kind of just get experience early instead of maybe waiting for 4 years. If you get an opportunity to go in as a freshman or something, or a sophomore, or I mean, just whatever comes your way and it makes sense and satisfies what you need, then you need to hop on it and then keep looking for more and keep growing, keep and just keep doing better. That's the name of the game.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a huge point that you make right there. I think there is another thing too that people will get a job and then feel like, okay, this I need to stay with them, right? Like I just got this job, I'm gonna be here, and then you get complacent, and then 5 years later, you're like, hey, I'm not happy here. Like I'm not getting the raises that I want. I'm not getting like the mental stimulation that I want from this job. I'm not gaining the skills, whatever it is. You don't have to stay at a job forever, right? You have a duty to yourself to be happy and to learn and to grow and to fulfill your life, right? So don't leave your job with no plan. But if you get a job that you think is not completely the right fit for you, at least stay there 6 months to a year, right? Learn what you can learn from that job, unless it's like a terrible situation and you feel like you really need to get out of it. Give it some time. That nothing says that you can't go into a job and continue looking, right? Even for a big thing. At Sprint, I got laid off after like 4 years, right? So that's what kind of started my journey in looking for other work and pushing myself a little bit harder. And I realized that you know, anything can happen, right? So maybe you get laid off and you're looking for work. You're hearing stories now of people being in the market for 6 months to a year. And the market can be tough, right? But if you can't hold out for a year for the
Yep.
next perfect job, you need to take something, right?
Yep.
You need to take something that satisfies your needs, pays your bills, and keeps you surviving. And you keep gaining experience and skills too until you find that next best thing. So maybe you take a job that's like not so great for a bit. And while you take that job, you're still looking, that might
Yep.
happen.
Yeah, and that's it. That's it. So for everyone watching, right, kind of take notes, think about where you're at in the situation. Have you turned down some offers because you didn't want to do it because of that reason, or just like wherever you're at, who can you reach out to right now to kind of get things moving forward? Maybe reach back out to offers you've declined if you did, or whatever the case is, right? So great points, Jason. Kind of switching topics a little bit. What are some of your goals in the future?
I think right now, to enjoy my time. So I'm a bit older, right? Like I'm in my 30s now and I have kids. So I think to me, what used to be important is not so much important. I've put myself in the position where like I'm super happy with my pay. I'm super happy with my job and what I'm doing. I'm at my dream company. Like I never thought that was going to happen, but I made it happen. And now that I have all fulfilled all those things, just like you said, like you get a fancy car and then it's like, hey, it's just a car, you know, like you still enjoy it, but it's like that thrill of the hunt. Like you wanted this thing so bad, fizzles eventually, right? So now for me, it's like I don't have that thrill of the hunt because I'm here. I've made it. I did the thing I wanted to do. And now it's like, okay, how do I make the most of enjoying this situation? How do I come to work every day and enjoy myself every day and love that I'm here and remind myself, like, hey, I made it, right? This is where I wanted to be. This is the opportunity I wanted. You can, like, the stress of like family and work and everything, like external stressors, whatever, can kind of get to you. And then you start feeling unhappy, but you have to show up and remind yourself, like, this is, I'm choosing to be here, right? I was just talking to a coach and that's what they told me, right? Like you're choosing to be at the place that you're at work, right? You're showing up every day. You're not locked into a job. That's not how work works here, right? Like you're not locked into that company. You're not locked into a job. You're choosing to show up every day. So that's what I have to remind myself. And I'm trying to just enjoy my time, right? I'm trying to enjoy my family as it grows. For me, being a present dad was super important. So that's what I'm trying to do now.
I love it. Yeah. And then, like for everyone watching too, because I mean, like that's a huge point for life. And I mean, I can tell you're a great dad. So I mean, I love it.
Thanks.
And, but like for all students,
Trying at least. Yeah.
yeah, no, man, you're killing it. But like for all students, when like you go to a career fair or you're just talking at networking events too, I mean, like just how you're saying it's a choice. I mean, students, like your perspective is a choice too when you're talking with people, your attitude is a choice. If you haven't gotten an internship and kind of bringing it back what we were saying about kind of comparison or competing with others too. If you've seen someone and they get lucky and you're like, all right, well, I mean, like I deserve it too, or whatever, right? I mean, we've all kind of had to go through that, but then your perspective is a choice as well. Because then you can spend the next 2 years kind of like just thinking about that in your head and getting boggled down, or like not really being your best self and not really putting yourself out there, or you can again make a choice. Like a lot of these things is a choice. Like all of these things are a choice. Your mood is a choice, your attitude is a choice. And if you show up with a good attitude or like your best effort or whatever it is, that may open you up to an opportunity because you never know who you're going to run into, right? So I mean, like that's just the biggest thing too. So that's kind of just echoing off of that. But um, you
Yeah. Um, about that, I actually nowadays, interviews are so most of them are online, right?
know,
Like a
mhm.
lot of them are like virtual interviews. And I think everyone gets used to kind of like dressing from the top up, right? For the presentation, but not the rest. To me, that always used to make me feel like not 100%, right? So just like you were saying, like it's a choice to show up for something. Even on my digital interviews, like my virtual interviews, I would dress completely,
Yep.
like head to toe. I would dress like I was seeing them in person and just shift my mood to like feeling 100%, like giving myself that confidence, like I'm in full dress, I'm in my full suit or whatever. This is making me comfortable. This is making me feel like I'm showing up 100%. It's kind of crazy how doing small things can change your mood, right? Like small things like that, or just like going to the gym or doing whatever, like those, whatever works for you to make you feel the best and show up for those interviews. Like you need to do that. You need to figure out what that is and do it.
Exactly. And that's a great transition. So the next question here is going to be how important is fitness in your life?
Fitness is super important. I was very athletic towards middle school, right? Like when you can start doing extracurricular stuff and joining teams, like I always thought that was great. So I was really athletic in middle school, and in high school, I was like swimming and diving and like super fit and all that stuff. College was tough, right? Like I didn't go to college to be on a sports team, so like that wasn't my day to day, and I kind of let that go. And you see the effects of that after you graduate. They have like the freshman 15 and all that stuff, right? Like I didn't gain like a ton of weight, but I definitely lost a lot of muscle mass and like just that rhythm of being
Yep.
fit. So I had to relearn it. And I didn't really start into, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years out of college. Like, I would go do stuff here and there, but I wasn't really like keep like serious about it. Now I try to do something every day. Like
Yep.
you start to understand like you need to make that time for yourself just to like clear your head. Your your health is really important, um as you age, you've got to watch what you eat and all that stuff. Like it's not fun, but it's important, right? You only get one body, you only get one mind. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And now that's been really big for me.
I love it. Yeah. And I mean, I keep saying this, but for everyone watching too, like fitness is really, really important. That's why we talk about it on FormAWin because as engineers, it's not something at like the forefront. Like we have wellness things inside of companies and there's lots of talk about it, but it's not a lot of like real talk about it. And it's really important to take it seriously. So that's why we talk about it here. So if you guys are not really taking it as seriously as you can, or there's some small improvements you can make, that's going to make a huge difference as well, right? Just like the whole choice thing and just everything we were talking about, this leads up to it as well because it's a whole puzzle piece and you just need to kind of improve a little bit at least every single day. And that's going to put you forward huge amounts.
Yeah, I think also just knowing that in tech, often you're just sitting all day, right?
Yep.
Like there's so, especially if you're working remote, there's so many jobs in tech where you're just like sitting all day. 7, 8 hours, right? And then you're in your car if you're traveling, like you're in your car traveling for like up to an hour, driving back and forth. Like that's a lot of time where you're not working your body out, right? So it's important to kind of get that back somewhere if you can. Like if you can go work out, make sure you're doing your stretches. I'm big on that. Hydration, that's huge. Make sure you're drinking water too. Like like you have to worry about that stuff as you age, right? You don't want to be 40 or 50 plus and then you took too long to get into it, right? There's never like you can always go back and get it, but if you start earlier, just like with everything else, if you start early, you get the returns on it for much longer.
Yep. 1,000%. So let's kind of go back a little bit into, finding an internship or engineering job. We've covered a lot, right? Like we talked a lot about, just trying to find a position and for you, like your finding a position was really more so like the application process, right? Online. what's some like key things you think you can tell some students to kind of prep that tactical technical side, right? Because once we kind of get over the barrier of putting ourselves out there, because that's going to solve 99% of the problems. Is there any like key technical or tactical things in resume, online application, whatever it is? Just what's some tips there?
Me, I think being in the market's important. So apply. I'll always say this to people: apply often, apply early. Right? You need to. We have the tools. You have LinkedIn jobs. You have all like whatever alerts you can set. Even for Google, we have our careers page, right? So set the alerts that you can. If you're targeting certain companies, make sure you have those alerts set so that when opportunities open up, you're alerted on them early. Have your resume ready for those positions. Like know what positions you're applying for, what the requirements are, what they're looking for, right? If you need to go grab some additional stuff, go grab it. If you need to go grind out leak code, go do it, right? Like make that practice an everyday thing so that when the opportunity comes up, you're ready. You
Yep.
don't have to say like, hey, I need 2 weeks to prep for this. Some companies will let you do it, right? Like you can tell them, hey, I'm going to need a week or two to prep for it. So make sure you're always practicing that thing that you need for the experience, right? Also, make sure you're applying super early. Like if you want to apply within the first 48 hours or something like that, right? Like I'm sure you can find the statistics out there, but that to me, that was my goal, right? If I see a job, I want to be an applicant within the first 48 hours because if you see a job and the posting's been open for like a month, imagine how many people applied in that month, right? And they probably are already well underway in interviews with someone, but they're leaving it open in case that doesn't work out. Like you need to apply super early and be part of that initial pool of applicants. Use the tools that you have out there, right? LinkedIn is my favorite. I like to set my alerts for everything, look in the markets that I'm looking in when I'm looking for work, right? Um, Figure out for yourself, are you open to relocation? Because if you're telling yourself, and I this is it for me, right? Like I like where I live. I'm not planning on moving. I wanted just like a stable life for my family, right? So that limits my job pool though, right? If
Mhm.
I'm saying I'm only going to stay in one market, I only have the jobs of that one market. Even if I say, okay, I'm willing to move to like any major city, right? To me, I like going to concerts. I like going to like live events. I like doing festivals. If I was going to move, I would need to be near a big city at least that has all that stuff that I want to do, the day-to-day stuff I like to do. So then I say, okay, maybe I'm willing for these 6 cities, right? Like have your alerts for those cities and be open for it, right? Be ready for that relocation. But the more you are for relocation, the bigger job pool that you're opening yourself out for, right? And then also realize if you go through the interview process and you don't get the job, try to get as much feedback as you can. Sometimes you don't get it, right? But ask the recruiter for feedback, figure it out. Think it to yourself, what could I have improved on, right? Work on those things. If you're getting a lot of interviews, your resume is probably working, right? If you're getting through a lot of interviews, but you're not getting job offers, something is happening in that interview, maybe, right? Evaluate that area. If you are even if you are getting rejections though, don't take it as like I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes, right? Because there might have been one or two positions open and 100 applicants, right? They might have done like interviews with 10 different people. They might have had 5 finalists that they can give the offer to. They've got to pick one, right? Everyone else could have been deserving of the job, had the experience, had everything it takes to do the job. Most of the time you do, but they only have one job to give, right? So, it sucks. Like it hurts, but you got to move on, right? Figure out what you did well. And that's why I say try to ask for that feedback if the recruiter or the hiring manager or whatever is willing to give you feedback of like what you did well, what you didn't do well, or like any notes that were taken about you that might help you on the next interview, right? And just kind of be ready for that next time.
I love it, man. Yeah, all great tips, everybody. I mean, like that's just super worthy to go rewatch, take some notes, right? And Jason, I got two more questions for you. One is going to be, what are some hobbies you have outside of work?
My hobby is music is a huge one. I love live music. Like I love going to concerts. I love going to festivals. Before I had a young kid and I had a lot of extra cash flow and more time and could travel freely, Like I would even travel to cities like just for the night or something, just to go to a festival, like catch a certain band I wanted to see, whatever. Then I also like I like exploring cities, right? So I would do stuff like that. Or travel with my wife, right? Now that I have kids, I can't do that so much, but um, that's a huge one. Gaming is another big one. I think that's probably out there for a lot of you. That could be a struggle too, you know, if you're willing to put in, you know, a couple hours into gaming, but you're not willing to put that into like studying something, that's a problem, right? Like that's a problem I had. I had to teach myself, like, if I want to get to the next step, do I cut gaming completely? No. I don't believe in diets for food. I don't believe in diets for like any of your hobbies or things that make you happy, right? Like you need a wholesome life. You need like everything needs to work well. Not all the time. Sometimes you got to cut things back though to make like space for something else. And then when you have that something else, then you can like gain the time back, right? So it's all ebb and flow. I think that's what I try to do mostly though. Gaming and music, like keep myself happy. Even if I feel bored sometimes, or I'm like I'm not finding any new music that I like. You know, I'm tired of all the games I've been playing. Like, I'll just go study something else, or like go find another hobby too. And then maybe I hate it, whatever. Like
Yeah,
that's fine. You know, like occupy your time. And I call those hobbies, right? Like fitness is another one, but I don't think fitness is a hobby. Like I
yep,
think
agreed.
fitness can be a hobby, but it's not a hobby for me, right? Like I just feel like that is like a essential part of my life, like
Yep.
working out and stuff. So if I I would say like that might be your hobby. That's what I mean to say by that. Like that might be your hobby. That's cool. Whatever you need to do to make yourself happy, right? Because it can't be all work all the time.
I love it, man. And then the last question everyone has probably been waiting for me to ask. What's your number one tip to work at Google, to get inside of Google?
Would say um there's it's to me, if I could say, I don't know this, right? Because Google doesn't really give you a lot of feedback, to be honest. Like that's their thing. Everything that we do is like very fair. Like we try to keep things very fair, and I can't give you any of the secrets of of that process. But I would say the biggest thing is tenacity. I didn't get into Google, like it wasn't like I applied to Google once and then they shook my hand and gave me a job, right? Like Google's one of the hardest places to get into. Obviously, it took some time. It was a process. I think the biggest thing though is that I kept applying. Like I was so like ferocious with there's a maximum to how much you can apply. I maxed it out all the time. It was always maxed until I started noticing that recruiters were reaching back out to me, right? And I did things like this is general advice now, not just for Google. This is the top tip for any job that you want to get. Research the company, you know, find out what they're looking for in their candidates, find out what they're looking for in that job role. If there's a job that you're interested in, there's probably a video out there somewhere on YouTube or something of someone in that role talking about what their day to day is, right? Go listen to those talks, right? Figure out what the job is so that you can go back and research those skills that they talk about and go study and like bring yourself up to speed on that stuff for the interviews, right? And then apply often. Job applications, it's I don't know exactly. I don't have the right words for it, but there's a mentality about applying to jobs that I think people have wrong. Every time there's an application, it's like a window of opportunity, right? That application is only going to be open so often for so long, and those jobs are going to come out every once in a while, right? Like jobs are always coming out for companies. So you have to look constantly, right? If you're looking for your dream job, it might take you a couple years to get into it because there's only going to be so many times that that role opens up in the cities that you're looking for, right? So you need to look constantly and apply and be ready to apply to those jobs and like ready to go every time that window of opportunity opens up. And that's what I think I did the best getting into Google, right? I kept my eyes open for those windows of opportunity, and every time I could, I applied to those roles. I knew what the role was about. I knew what they were expecting. I kept getting better at the process. It took me like a year and a half of applying, maxing out my applications so that as much as they allow you to apply, right? Maxing out my applications. going through the interview process. I went through the interview process 3 times over a year and a half. I would say like, every so many months I was getting an interview. The first, I don't know, I think it took me 6 months to even get my first interview. And after that, it was like the next 2 times rolled in. It felt like it was quicker, but you're not going to get it right away,
Yep.
most likely, right? You're not going to get it right away. So keep yourself open for those opportunities, keep your eyes peeled for those opportunities, and keep at it and keep improving yourself, right? Like that's the only way that you're going to get your dream job.
Well, guys,
Yeah.
Jason, thank
Unless you
you.
have great networking. Let me not
There you
slack
go.
on networking.
Mhm.
Unless you have great networking, because I didn't, in my case, I didn't. I didn't know anyone at Google. I didn't have any referrals, any of that stuff. I didn't know anyone that worked in cloud. I just knew like I want to do that thing. And I started researching the roles, researching the company, how do I make my way in, right? So if you do have a good network, use that too. If you have people who got internships, like if your peers got internships at the companies you're interested in, reach out to them. Even if you just had a class with them or something, link up with them, right? Network with them. Hey, how did you do it? What was your job like? How hard was it? All that stuff. Let them tell you their story and maybe you get a friend out of it.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like that's the biggest thing too with networking. I mean, you just need to put yourself out there. More conversations you have, the
Yeah.
more opportunities that open up, the more friends you could have too. So, I mean, on that note, Jason, I think we'll end it here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Again, whatever notes you have, make sure you look at it, take one thing, go apply. That's the key. Feel free to drop your biggest takeaway in the comments. I'm sure we'll have a part two here soon, Jason. So, thank you so much for
Sure.
joining
Yeah.
us for this. It's been awesome. And everyone go
Cool.
FormAWin. Feel free to reach out if you need help. Bye, guys.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks. See ya.